Assalamualaikum wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera, salam 7 Ramadan today and also salam MCO for everyone. So first of all, the Institute of Landscape Architects Malaysia would like to apologize to all our viewers. Yes, our program is supposed to be streaming at 10:30 today, but well, this is among the first few times we are organizing things online, so we didn't actually come out, don't really know how to settle a few things. So today we are pre-recording our session, and then what we can do is that we will publish on FB. If you have any questions, feel free to put on your comments, and then we will get back to you, because there will be a few other sessions after this, and we will come back to you to answer all the questions. So don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, stay happy because things will keep on going, right? So anyway, thank you so much for waiting. We appreciate all your passion and patient waiting for the things to happen. And of course, we will actually give the best to everyone who's waiting in ILAM FB. So, okay, get back to the issues today. We're going to talk about new norm as a norm. And we have 4 panels with me today. They are coming with me to talk about very different issues and how do we go about after the MCO is lifted, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, you all know is that the COVID-19 has been basically around the world, globally known since December 2019 and even until now. So it was started with the China lockdown. The whole world is actually being shocked, and we are not exceptional. And then we receive all the informations on internet, and then less communicating, less physically meeting each other. So actually we are very limited. The physical movement is very limited nowadays, and everybody is complying to the lockdown. We all know things that happen in India, in in the United States, I'm sorry, and even in Malaysia, we are all locked down in our own territory. So the issue today that we're going to share with you is that what will happen after the MCO is lifted. Will our days be like before? We are traveling, going to office, we are able to go to parks and gardens, we are free to go to the shopping malls and enjoying movies in the cinema. Will it be the same? So today, all our panels is going to talk about this changing the norms to become the new norms of everybody, including me. Yeah. So the question here is that, what is tomorrow really like? So I would like to share with you, if for the parents, right, who's having children, sometimes you will watch SpongeBob, yep, and you know that when SpongeBob he wants to go on the land, he has to put on this oxygen tank. Are we going to do the same? Or even for the adults, I think you have been watching the Star Wars, and you know that the Darth Vader suits is actually covering the whole thing. Are we going around with that suit in the future? Yeah, so these are the things that we're going to discuss during our session. Okay, and then there are a lot more. So today I would like to invite Associate Professor and Landscape Architect Dr. Suhardi Maulan, the President of ILAM, to share his views on the future and the changes that will happen to landscape architecture industry. And I will also have Dr. Khalila Zakaria from UITM Council members to talk about what are the changing models that will happen on the education. And also we're going to have Miss landscape architect Liu Ying Yi, our council members, is going to talk about what will happen to the professional practice. Will our norms change? And of course, a very important thing is that we're going to have landscape architect Hajar Rotina to talk about the government policies, what are the changes and the things that we have to adapt to. So, ladies and gentlemen, this situation is real. Yeah, so we're talking about changing the way we do things in the next 10 years, and COVID-19 is not going to end tomorrow. We don't even know when Malaysia is going to lift our MCO. And according to WHO, that vaccines for COVID-19 has not yet been found. So it may take around 1 to 2 years for us to live like this or to adapt to the new changes. So are we ready? So to all landscape architects in particular, And to all our public viewers, this is a time for us to change. But how do we change? What needs to be changed? So stay tuned with us. Listen to all our four panelists because they will be actually discussing about the broader picture of changing the norms that we are having today that is adaptable and practical for tomorrow. Okay, so without further ado, okay, for those, again, once again, for those who are viewing us today, please jot down your comments in the comment section. We will revert to you with the questions in the following series. And then for those, don't forget to to give us a thumbs or love whatsoever so that we could see that you are around. To all landscape architects who are collecting the CPD points, don't forget to selfie yourself so that you could obtain the CPD points. All right. So let's make things moving. Okay. So I would like to invite Associate Professor Landscape Architect Dr. Suhardi Maulan. Dr. Suhardi, could you please share with us new norm as the norm for landscape architecture practices? So over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Noatia, for the lovely introduction to the seminar. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera to all the viewers, especially the landscape architects, and Ramadan Karim to all the Muslim who are observing the fasting month of Ramadan. I wish all of you healthy and away from the COVID-19, especially. Stay home, stay strong, and keep united, even though we have to be away from each other. So anyway, COVID-19 is actually bring us to think how actually we're going to do new thing, which is ordinarily we are used to. So, for example, for landscape architecture, uh, the social one thing that very prevalent for the COVID-19 actually is the ideas of social distancing. It's changed the office environment situation, the relationship between the clients, the contractors, as well as the publics. And then we are also looking into the changes in the education method on how we're going to teach our students about landscape architectures. And luckily, we are having the technology today that manage to connect us, even though we are confined to our home. Just imagine in 1918 to 1920 when we have the Spanish flu outbreak. So they don't have Zoom, they don't have WebEx, they don't have WhatsApp and everything. But now we have this technology, but somehow so we managed to get together. Some of our works can be done as usual uh, with the computers. Most of our drawings, most of our design can be done at home. So it's kind of helping us cope or to overcome the difficulty in this kind of situation. But we still have the problem uh, on how actually to go about in this kind of new norm. So, but that is in terms of how we socializing, how we are actually organize ourselves in the office, and how we are interact with the clients or contractors and so forth. Maybe a little bit on the contractor because it's involved a site situation. But most importantly for the landscape architects actually is a design part. And how actually in the future we're going to design our landscape per se, our landscape spaces, our open spaces and so forth. Do the new norm actually allow us to design as usual? That is the question that we have to ask among ourselves. So do from the way I see it, for the next maybe 5 years, the relationship between the landscape design or planning with the health situation will be prevalent. So how actually the landscape architect is going to respond to it? So in my opinion, the ideas about how landscape architecture design can relate to the health will be there for the next few years. We have to think how our design is not going to uh, allow or introduce new diseases, especially with the situation now where most of the theory pointed that uh, animal might be the main cause for the COVID-19. And we know that the animals actually need habitats, and habitat is part of our landscape. So that is the issue. So we have to be very careful very careful, and we really need to understand how actually we're going to design our landscape spaces in related to the disease. Second one actually is that you also need to understand on how to design a space that actually can enhance human immune system. We know that there is a lot of studies, a lot of design actually talking about how their design can enhance human health and immune system. But uh, but COVID-19 present us a new dilemma because it's very extreme. So the way that the virus spread uh, very quickly, and nobody know how actually it's spreading really. So it gives some kind of the challenge to us on how to design in the future. So this is the something that we have to think about it. Another one actually, as we know that we are experiencing movement control order in Malaysia, and I think in many parts of the world also, we are uh, facing the same issue. Uh, Countries like Britain, in Europe, Australia, UK, and everywhere, and the government is enforcing the some kind of the movement control. So the question is that once the MCO is lifted, the issue of or the ideas of home might be changed. So we know that the current situation when home or a house is designed with very limited space, uh, but in the future, maybe there is a call for the home or a house to be designed bigger to prepare us to for this kind of situation. So we heard the story in a house unit in Malaysia. Uh, 10 to 15 people stay in one house in very small space. So it's going to be this is an issue. But the question is the house of is the design of the house will be bigger in the future to cater the need of many people in one place or one space. So when this kind of ideas come to the pictures, the development of the buildings or development of the housing areas will be at what expense? It's easy to say that the landscape spaces might be the uh, the first thing that will be disappear to cater the needs of the human beings for a bigger house space. So is it going to be our green space? Is it going to be jeopardized? Is it going to be reduced? Because at this particular moment during the MCO, we cannot go to parks, we cannot go to recreational area, even though we want to, but we can because we afraid of this particular virus to attack us when if we are there. So so the question is, should we uh, make our space open spaces smaller, even though we are now have the problem with that now, with only 10% of our spaces have been dedicated uh, for green spaces. So is it going to be smaller? Let's say, for example, 5. So is it going to be acceptable? So uh, so this is the thing that we need to look in the future, and there is a role of landscape architects there. So on how to overcome this particular issue, we have to anticipate this issue. This is kind of the for me it's a new norm, or maybe if I borrow from uh, Datuk Mak Hassan, the vice president of UMNO, uh, it's a abnormal. This is an abnormal situation rather than the new norm. Uh, so uh, so we have to face this kind of issue. So So in in this situation, the roles of landscapes as well as landscape architect should be changed or should be enhanced beyond the the quality landscape. Why we recreation? You have it's more than if we are talking about landscape and health at this particular moment. Uh, it should be more than restorative or healing power of landscape. It have to it have to be designed to give, uh, as I said before, to give more immune system to us. But can it be done? Can landscape be a place or a space that can actually help us to be more to be stronger, to be better in terms of the health and so forth. So uh, so as I said, it's beyond aesthetic as well as recreation. So from this point of time, even during this particular time and after the MCO period, we have to think and how are we going to do all these things? It's going to be a challenge, a lot of challenges to ensure that our landscape spaces is not been compromised for a new norm, and it have to come uh, from the way the landscape architect thinks, the way we are doing as thing, if you are in the university as a researcher, and the way we're going to educate our future landscape architects, or the way we are going to enhance the current capacity of the landscape architects. And but most importantly, actually, is for the we need to have a clear policy from the government side on how actually we're going to move toward this new norm, because if not, uh, uh, we're going to have a problem because people talking about the social distancing, stay at home. So how can we actually experience the landscape if we are staying at home? So that's why I said the demand for the bigger space will be for the house, not for the landscape spaces. So that is the very simple uh, issue that I see now. Maybe there is other issue or pressing issue that need to look at. But for now, I think I stop there first, talking about uh, the situation that we may face, or the new norm that we have to think about after the MCO is lifted, or even now, actually, our landscape architecture or landscape architect practitioner have a problem adapting to the new situation where the office is being closed, the workers cannot come to the office, everything has to be online. Even though we have the technology, but we still love to see each other. The instruction is easier to be given uh, directly or face to face. So how I'm going to accommodate this kind of situation or changes? So I go back to the madam moderator.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Sohardi. I think this is very enlightening. I really love when you say something on design as usual. So I think for me, I've been in the industry for about 30 years. We are doing the schools are teaching us about how to do design, form follows function and whatnot. So form follows functions in the next 20 years, in the next 10 years, would it be the same? So it's something that we have to ponder. In fact, I believe from what Dr. Suhardi was saying just now, we have to look at about what would parks and gardens look like in the future. So I think our Prime Minister has actually said that some of the leeways or flexibilities has been given during MCO, where actually community in the green zones actually allowed to go outside. In fact, if they are living in a multi-story, they are allowed to go into the compound, into the garden, but of course with a very close security and close monitoring. That means it's a very good thing to landscape architects. No matter what, no matter how good you're confined in your own house, but you need green spaces. So to me, I think as a landscape architects, we see that yes, green spaces is very, very important. And we see that during this MCO when people don't go out. So it is very, very stressful. So to me, it's a blessing in disguise, Dr. Sohadi. And but as a landscape architects, yes, of course, we need to see how do we go about with that, and how because as a designer, as a landscape architect, we have to remember that our responsibilities is actually to mold the community. Our design is actually molding the ethics of the community, the way they respond to the environment, the way they respond to the social, and the way they respond to knowledge in their own living spaces. So we have lots of responsibilities for us to go through and to make sure that everybody is basically adaptable to these new norms. Thank you so much, Dr. Suhardi. That was very enlightening and a very good opening for our session today. So I would like to move into our second panels. Yeah. So I would like to invite Associate Professor Landscape Architect Dr. Khalila Zakaria. She will be talking of education. So education is the root of knowledge, the root of people, how do actually, because I think education is everything. Yeah, when you have knowledge, you have passion, and you want to contribute, it starts with education. So Dr. Kalila, how does a new education in landscape architecture will actually change after this MCO, the post-disaster, or even within these 2 years, the post-COVID-19 issues being settled around the world? How do we go to school actually? How do we learn? So and what are the changes everybody has got to adapt to? So I think you have lots of ideas to share with us. So let's hear from you. So over to you, Dr. Kayla. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atia. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our webinar today as we all discuss about new norm as a norm. So I'm Khalila. I'm representing the ILAM Education Council, also representing our chairman, LAR Nazri. And I'd like to share a bit about ILAM's initiatives and the actions that we have taken to mitigate or look into this truly unprecedented event. Because none of us globally expected about this pandemic, and then all of a sudden everybody have to shift, have to change. So as we know that when we enter 2020, or as of last year, we have been talking about the age of disruption, right? So which means that we need to prepare and brace ourselves for any changes. And then being landscape architects and also in education, I think being ready for change is what we have to do. It's about being resilient and knowing how to solve problem with anything that we have with us, make do with what we have. Just like this morning, we had a glitch in terms of technology. We couldn't connect to MB Live. So we have to sort of, look into what are the other alternatives that we have to do to deliver the thing that we need to do. So I'd like to share that, before we go into the ILAM's initiatives, that for ILAM, we do take note of the government's concern. The Ministry of Higher Education highlighted three issues or concerns that all educators, higher learning institutions, education institutions need to look into. Number one is that national safety is the country's priority. So in ILAM, we acknowledge that. And then as an academic myself in IUM, and then I know that all universities are looking very carefully on this and how to best, continue education. But of course, safety is number one. And then the second one is that the continuity of learning. By hook or by crook, we still have to go on. So some universities at the moment, I think UITM and UTM have continued with their online learning. UPM, I think, will continue as soon as MCO is lifted. And then for IUM, it will be on the 1st of June. And for other universities, they would have their own schedule as well. And other universities worldwide, some have also continued. So whether we can go out of the house or not, the learning has to keep going, and we just have to find a way of how best we can still allow our students to learn. And even for us, academics, what are the methods that we can use to effectively deliver the lessons that we need to do. And then the third one highlighted by the ministry is that the quality of learning must be assured. And then in ILAM, we look at this thing very seriously also. So it doesn't matter, or because there are varying types of technologies that people use, and we acknowledge that students have different access to internet and the software, which is the infrastructure, and not just students, but also lecturers. So at the end of the day, how do we plan for these the courses to be delivered, and essentially for the program objectives to be highlighted? So on the 1st of April, in responding to MCO, ILAM has distributed a special note to all of the LA programs to deliver. And we looked into the different aspects of how the teaching and learning could still continue within and after MCO, because students might be back in campus or they might not be back. So we have to prepare for both of these scenarios. So like studios, for example, how can studios still be conducted? If before this, going to the studio, we would do drawings in the studio, students would have their crit session with their lecturers, we would invite external panels, and it's easy when we get to communicate face to face. You get to draw on the paper in front of the students, but now you won't have that physical interaction anymore. So can studios and creative learning and problem solving still go on? Now, if you look into what other countries have done, I think within the past 1 month, for example, universities in the US and even in Malaysia, like UTM and UITM, they have embarked on digital studio, which is going through online learning. But we'll have a special session on that to hear about what they share, on how the studio learnings actually take place. What are some of the opportunities and the drawbacks, so that we can learn from each other and keep on improving. And then we also have the issues of internship. Now that companies are currently working from home, so how about students going on internship? Will internship need to be shifted to a different semester, or will it need to be prolonged? So in ILAM, we looked into that, as long as it is within the study plan and according to the university's ruling, then it's up to the university on how they want to arrange the internship. And this would also depends on the companies themselves. Maybe the most of internship would also change. Okay. And then other classes, as we know that, online learning has been going on. It's not anything new. The MCO is not the first time that all of us go to do online learning. Universities have advanced in using blended learning, but I would say that this might be the first time for most universities in Malaysia, especially the design school, to go 100% online. Okay, I think a lot of the concerns from educators are not on the theory courses, because the use of slide decks, videos, and then sharing of reading materials, doing online quizzes and activities can be done quite seamlessly. But when it comes to studio, how do we still retain that essence of creativity, that interaction, that allows students to think critically, and that constant feedback, that how we would have it in a real studio, but now online. So I think number one is being aware of these things that we need to change, but at the same time acknowledging that not everyone and all the time can change drastically. Everything will have to be done gradually, and we might have to test out different methods that might work better or not work better. It's not going to be an easy task, but I believe in any types of change, that's what we have to do. Imagine before this, I guess when I was doing my internship years back, the company was still using Release 14 AutoCAD. And now we have AutoCAD, I don't know what version anymore. We have SketchUp, we have Lumion. Perhaps at one point it was hard for landscape architects to shift software, but then again, when you acclimatize to it, you get used to it, it becomes familiar, and it becomes indeed the new norm. Right. So what I would like to also highlight on behalf of ILAM is that, based on the guidelines that we have given, we have also submitted the special note to the Ministry of Higher Education, is that for all universities to also look into what their university rulings are. So make this guide and your university ruling as a hand-in-hand guide to decide and plan what would be the best method to deliver the courses and the programs. We understand that some programs or study plans might even have to be shifted, because it's very important to know that there might be some issues of accessibility to a small percentage of students, and we can't generalize the same methods for all students anymore. So in the light of this matter, I'd like to share 4 aspects shared by my colleague, Dr. Rosmaliza. She's an expert on instructional technology from IUM. So she shared 4 aspects that educators need to think about. Number 1 is the shift of learning space from public to private. So with us, for us, for landscape architecture, we're talking about the shift from studio to home, or maybe to a bedroom. So how do us academics and also students prepare for that change? Okay, because we need to prepare the physical space and also the infrastructure, and also knowing that the scheduling and our rhythm of learning might also change. Number 2 is the shift in delivery methods. So before this, one class, you can speak to 50 students or 30 students or even 100 of students at once. But now your 50 or 100 students are distributed at different homes, different states, different cities. And some might have really fast internet, but some might be lagging. So can we still expect that students will able to receive the same sort of lesson in the same pace? Maybe not. So we might have to look into a more individualized or customized learning. Okay, I understand that for universities and many cities in Malaysia have good internet, but we still need to acknowledge that there are some areas that might have poor accessibility. And then as educator, it's very important for us to assist how all students can achieve the same things fairly. And then number 3 is a shift in responsibility in teaching or learning. Because when everyone is working at home, teaching at home and learning at home, imagine how many hours everybody would need to be in front of the laptop. For mothers that have children, they have online schools. For mothers who are also, mothers and fathers, who are also lecturers, they also need to go online to teach. And for students at home who have brothers and sisters who are also doing online learning, who need to go online also. So it might be sort of a crazy virtual queue, who gets to go online first. So this dynamic, I think, needs to be planned at home as well, because as we know, going online for a long time, you can get burnout. Recently, BBC released an article that talked about Zoom fatigue. Being online for too long can cause you to get really tired, because it can feel a bit weird, talking, but not having a physical person in front of you. So if you do it once in a while, maybe that's fine. But imagine if you have a class from 8 until 10, 10 until 1, and then 2 until 5, how much data would that use and how much screen time would that be? So these are the things that we need to consider. And then number 4 is shift in evaluation. If before this, we're talking about final exams, maybe now we have to move into coursework assessment or formative assessments. And then for studios, if before this panels from the industry get to come to the studio to give feedback, maybe now panels would also do an online assessment. But I was thinking, now while we're going borderless, maybe we could have international panels to become our examiners and grid sessions. So there might be actually some opportunities of how we can leverage or take advantage of the situations that we have now. So we will definitely discuss about this further in the upcoming webinar at the end of May. We'll have academics and also landscape architects from 2 national universities, UITM and UTM, inshallah, and also another 2 from international. Who they are, you have to stay tuned to our promotion later on. And I would like to pose, meanwhile, some questions that we should think about teaching and learning landscape architecture through alternative ways. The issues of infrastructure, Wi-Fi, software, and also accessibility. Most universities provide software at their computer labs. Now we're going outside of the university. How do we solve these problems if students don't have access to software? Will we be using open sources or other available softwares online? And then Number two, the readiness of both for the academics and of the students. Because of this shift, a lot of preparation needs to be done. And I believe within this month, all of the universities are actively providing training for lecturers to test out various different methods. I myself have come across different types of platforms such as Edpuzzle to edit videos, VB to highlight some YouTube or TED Talks. And then I've learned from my colleague in Bangkok using Google Jamboard to do collaborative idea sharing. So we'll share a bit more about these softwares in our webinar later on. And then number three is methods of delivery, ensuring that no matter what, the program outcome is still achieved. So for our ILAM recognition, this is an utmost important. So we advise that academics to document the process of their teaching and learning, how they do the assessment, how they do their delivery, and how do students interact and participate. This can be actually somewhat historical document because we've never done this before. And who knows, one day, now even the ministry is talking about micro-credentials. Students could be taking courses from other universities. Courses like Harvard and MIT, they're already offering that micro-credentials online. And then number four is something that I think we have to pay attention to is mental health and also the scheduling. Because as much as we want to get a lot of things taught, delivered, and done, we have to remember that learning digitally takes time, and then it needs a phase of adjustments. And then we don't plan how we are going to do things. And then most importantly, to make learning landscape architecture still enjoyable, because it's design. And then when we're talking critically and be creative, and you can't be creative if something is too tiring to do or boring. So that element of, I think, of joy that all designers find in design, we have to find a way of how do we still instill that. So I think maybe the last note that I like to share before we end, once MCO have been lifted, and then students can at least maybe go out of their house compound or in the neighborhood area, maybe this will also shift of how our projects will be and research will be for the next upcoming semesters. Maybe students will be doing projects on, looking into their own surrounding area, and then looking into community engagement. So perhaps at the, within the next few years, we'll be looking into, acting global to get, acting local to get global impact. That's all from me so far, Dr. Atia.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kayla. I think this is also, again, another aspect that we have to, everybody has got to be ready. Our studios is not going to be a place where we used to be gather everybody. So we always be recall ourselves, okay, you are from UITM, what batch, what year? So now I don't know whether we can still doing the same thing after these practices has been carried through a few decades. So yeah, so the future studio might just be at home. That's very exciting to be actually what Dr. Kayla has discussed just now. And then lecturers has got to be more proactive to make teaching exciting even though online. I don't know what will happen to the lecturers after this. So you got to be singing teachers, because or else you can't do anything because you don't have time to go and pack your children. So whatsoever, just sing, okay? So that could be one of the ways, but no matter what, learning, education has got to be inspiring, intriguing, and also exciting all the time. So no matter what you do, how you do, your objective has got to be achieved. Yeah. So I think we have been listening to Dr. Kayla for so many possibilities. Yeah. Within the limitations that we have, there are lots of possibilities. In fact, Harvard University has already started the online education a few years back. I don't know whether they have already foreseen all these circumstances to happen, but Harvard University has been doing this, and research is now ongoing to basically check and balance how much the objective has been achieved. And yeah, maybe this is the future. No classroom, But yes, teachers has got to be there, or else lecturers will have no jobs. Universities is going to be smaller, could be, so that those universities can be used as a spaces for parks, for publics or whatsoever. And so many things that is waiting for us, ladies, blessings in disguise. No matter what, life has to goes on, education has to be proceed, because people need knowledge for living. Thank you so much, Dr. Kayla, for your sharing just now. It was very, very exciting. And I'm looking into a new mode of teaching, a new life being a teacher, a new life for my students to see me after this. So, yeah, we are waiting for that. Thank you. So from education just now, Dr. Kayla, we have to move to landscape architect Ying Yi, a very beautiful landscape architect, very young, energetic. She will be talking about professional practice. So I believe that among the professionals, the built environment professionals that we're facing today, landscape architecture is one of the professions that is highly affected by this COVID-19, because we are the one who's talking about the public spaces. Our design before this is actually to encourage people to come to the public spaces, to mingle, to basically know each other, to socialize. But now we don't have that space anymore. And then the way we work, whether we are going to work in the office, or we're going to commute, or we're going to work from home, or we're going to do it on the internet, or worst come to worst, we don't have job, my dear. So that's really, really something that we don't want to go about. That's why we need to hear from Ying Ye, what will happen for our future? Are we going to survive? Are we going to be resilient? Are we going to be adaptable? So to you over, Miss Ying Ye. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adia. Maybe I'm very optimistic. So from this pandemic, actually, I feel that every challenge we have a lot of opportunities. Actually, I see more opportunities where a lot of adaptation and a lot of review of this existing practice. We need to adapt, we need to improve. So I prepared some simple slide, and at first we recall a bit what happened during our Prime Minister announced the MCO. So it's actually on 16 March, and unfortunately, we only have 2 days to prepare. If you still remember the 2 days, right? Everyone going to panic buy, to prepare the things from office. It's like everyone thinking how to pack the things into the laptop or computer, bring the computer, the CPU, the desktop all back to home. And after that, for landscape architecture itself, the site work all stopped, then we can't go to the office side. Suddenly everyone forced to speed up all the uptake of digitalization and technology. Is like everyone from I cannot, I must face to face, everything must face to face. Then now everyone using virtual communication media. After that, we have this Bantuan Prihatin National. That one, I think this portion will be discussed in detail during 12 May, the another webinar. Then after we go through all this, people start to adapt to the work from home, then start to change the mindset, what we can't do, then we can do now. And some go to very well adapt, and some go to very anxiety, depression, frustrated. Then and some say that I'm so frustrated because I have nothing to do, and some other syndrome as well. Okay, then because right now is like going to the relaxation phase, and a lot of office start to get the approval to start work. So maybe for the employer and the employee, they can start to think work. Do they prefer to work from home after MCO? Because everything we haven't experienced all this globally, like current stage. So after the MCO lifted, maybe the way we work also we change. So for those who watch the video here, we wish that you can leave some comment and say you actually prefer work from home or not, and can't wait to go back to the office. Okay, so from I will touch a little bit about the habit and the mindset from before MCO. and to our future new norm. So for landscape, we won't see landscape as landscape anymore. We need to think about what we can do better as policymaker, as a landscape architect, academician. So I only choose two that I really think we cannot ignore anymore. We've been talking about sustainable landscape, resilient landscape for so many years, but we can take this pandemic as one of the challenge to become it as an opportunity to prove that what we actually need is the sustainable and resilience. So I think this one, we leave it to the expert to explain in the upcoming webinar. And the new norm is to everything to paperless. So previously, it's like you need to submit the original letter copy, original signature. Then because of this MCO, everything can go online. We can scan it. We can use the digital sign. Then I have one case is the tender submission. So normally we need to submit the tender document, right? Then suddenly can scan certain page and submit email. So what has been done before is like when they insist of all this hard copy, then how come suddenly within like 4 to 6 weeks we can accept it to paperless? In Singapore, actually, the even tender itself and can go for digital. They will invite through email. They will after you pay for the tender document fees, or that you actually can get the PDF copy, soft copy, then all everything submit paperless. Then presentation, last time presentation for landscape presentation, right? Clients say, oh, our CEO only available on this day. You must cancel your other meeting, then attend this presentation. Then now suddenly with this MCO, we can go for virtual presentation. So everything is adaptation and a change of the mindset and how we take the opportunity to develop the future practice in the landscape architecture. And everything must do manually before. Is actually this one is more on habit, personal habit. Is that they prefer to have the A1 paper, A3 paper print to a certain scale. Then because only confined place in the home, then suddenly they can do everything using computer. And actually is the habit. After you get familiar with the technology, actually there is no such as like must practice according to the habit. And we used to jam to office, jam to meeting, then jam back to home. So for the after this MCO lifted, maybe you can just think the 1 hour you jam to office, no matter for the bosses or for the staff, you can think the 1 hour in the morning and the 1 hour after work, maybe you can spend for sport, your gardening, and spend the time with the families. And from work in office, it's like we must talk face to face. I must hold your hand to draw, to explain everything. Then we change to work from home. So during the first week of this MCO, I believe everyone is like, oh, I don't know, I do not know how to assign the job. Then now it's like everything you have a few sections of Zoom meeting. It's like as long as more than 2 person, they will want to have like virtual meeting. But maybe the things is only can email, but because of the new habit and very excited to all this technology, right? So everyone go to virtual meeting. And because of this challenge, and as I said, every challenge will come with different opportunities. So I think it's very good for no matter for employer or for employee, take this opportunity, take this time to develop your communication skill. It's like for bosses, you can develop what is the skill to assign to your staff, no matter where they are. And for the staff, you can develop your skill how to report what you have done to all the bosses, all the client, all your colleagues, even to your assistant. It's the time to develop your skill. And because I also one of the work from home worker, so for these 2 years, I actually start from when I start to work from home, I also have a period of adaptation. How to make myself efficient. So here are some tips for those who still need to work from home. I think maybe you can refer to some of these steps or tips. And for those who already gotten the approval and prepare to go to office, right? Since our government still haven't really announced what is the SOP and what to do to encourage all this social distancing, I actually extract some from this expert, Dr. Chang Wen-hong, head of the COVID-19 expert team in Shanghai. He is very famous doctor now because the way he talk is like very true but very sarcastic. So it's like some tips for the people who going to go back to the office soon. Okay, the first one, sit next to the colleagues that you dislike most, because you dislike, so you won't talk much. So we can reduce the risk that there is the virus that spread around. So listen more and talk less during the work meeting. You see the people that you never spoke to you when you come into the company, right? Try sit next to her. So the bosses will think as why the staff is like changing the seats, right? Then you know something happened. Leave straight away after meeting, run as fast as you can. When this is very true. When you do an amazing job, your boss actually no need to talk to you because you already get the things done. And when you do the job very terrible, then your boss no need to talk to you either. Okay, this is all what I want to share. So good luck for anyone who going back to the office. Take yourself all the personal care completely carefully. And for those who work from home like me, if you're still adapting, so you can take the tips that I give. Okay, that's all I think for now.
Okay, thank you so much, Ying Yi. I think that is very exciting, especially the last one, when your bosses don't talk to you anymore. You do good or you do bad, well, your bosses didn't talk to you, but as long as they pay your salary, I think that's good enough. So yeah, these are the new norms, which is work from home. So I think we have been struggling in the first few months how to adapt our situation. And especially for the ladies, for the moms, we are having an octopus hand with the baby here and the laptop here. So cooking at the same time, so but still singing and enjoying our work. So that could be the life in the future. But I think to be much more serious, I believe that the whatever that has been discussed by Ying Yi just is very, very important for practitioners is that don't wait for things to change, but we have to be adaptable for changes. With the open-hearted, with the adaptation and resilient and also sustainable, I think we could adapt to this new situation. Life might not be similar like before, but trust me, life is going to be better if you want it to be better. Yeah. So thank you so much, Miss Ying Yi. I think that was very, very exciting, and I'm so happy to see the sharings from Dr. Suhardi just now. And then we have Dr. Kayla on education, and we have Ying Yi with her practitioner experiences and how does she actually works from home, and she still looks very pretty, still enjoyable. So we need to be inspired by Ying Yi too, and also these fellas. Yeah. So our session today wouldn't be completed without talking to the most important person in landscape architecture industry, the policy maker, the one that makes sure our industry is ongoing within this uncertainty. So we're talking about landscape architecture. We might not know that even the practicing or the cities might be changed. People last time in the 70s, this is a rural urban migration. Everybody wants to come to live in urban area. So that's why we create all the residential area, and then we have industrial, we have schools and academic zones, and then we have parks and recreations. Everybody is actually be in the city, very happy, become a very vibrant city. But tomorrow, cities might live empty, like what we see in the videos whatsoever. There's only animals in the city. Human beings is actually being locked in the house. So what would be the policy that is going to change this way, and how the landscape architects, Hajar Rotina Muhammad Jahid from the National Landscape Department of Malaysia, very important figure in Malaysia, to talk about the changes of policy, because this will actually mold the practicing part of professional practice of landscape architecture, the education, the national policy, and also the future of Malaysia as a green city. So over to you, Hajar Rotina Muhammad Dain. Thank you so much for being with us today. And of course, please share with us your vision towards adapting and changing new norms as a norm in the future. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Atia. Very enjoyable and very enjoyable introduction. So today, as we introduce, first I would like to say hello to all the viewers. I hope everybody is still stay safe and stay at home as what all of us was asked to do. So today, as a person in charge in the landscape architecture field in the government, so we can see that the utmost priority is actually for the national safety to the nation is our priority. So as you can see, us need to be at home during this movement control order so that this pandemic can be controlled. As we can see, as the government imposed the movement control order, everybody is panicking, I think, because we don't know what to expect. So when we don't know what to expect, many people start coming with different thoughts and ideas. As now, today is the 44th days of MCO, we can see everything go back to normal. I would say the new norms is the norm for us today. Everybody is able to work from home very efficiently, I would say. And the world is become smaller since virtually we can be connected to all over everybody in all over the world. We can be connected to our colleagues in other parts of the world. We have more seminars and also connections to talk about this COVID-19 and how it affects the landscape architecture and also the landscape industry as a whole. As people in the policy, as a policy as a whole, last time we always think that this pandemic will give us the opportunity for us to design or to prosper in landscape architecture. But I think the limitation or the challenges that we are facing now is actually the opportunity for us to look how we can take this situation to prosper better. As an example, we can see at the moment the government is coming out with the SOP, the Standard Operating Procedure, where a few of the protocols need to be adhered after the MCO will be lifted. I think our Prime Minister will announce when it will be lifted. So stay tuned and wait until tomorrow. We will know when the MCO will be lifted. And after the MCO will be lifted, everybody will have to work as normal, but with a certain rules and protocol or a procedure that we have to follow. First, we can say that all the landscape architecture in whatever field, the industry, the design practices, and also in the education, we have to follow the first rule that is social distancing. So as a this social distancing is the first rule that everybody have to follow. So if you have a firm, you have to think of how your firm would you have your firm or company, you have to think how your firm and company would have to develop a new rules or way of doing things. How we are going to go for a site visit. Of course, we can do everything virtually, but when it comes to site visit or site inspection, everybody have to go on site. I don't think we can do virtually with a video cam or the camera, but still we need to verify things on site. So these are the things that I think the landscape architect have to be ready, be prepared, what we have to do to face out this situation. Other than that, I think the rules that we have to follow besides the social distancing is we have to ensure that our employees or our staff have to do the sanitizing maybe our office need to be sanitized every day. So these are the procedures, the protocols that we have to develop in our office and also in our company. So this when we lifted the MCO, we can go back to the office as normal, doing the practice as normal, but with the certain limitation that we're able to adopt and adapt in the future. Besides that, I think as everybody think there will be a challenge to the landscape architecture practice as a whole, but I think there is a lot of opportunity that we have to look into. First, when people are locked down in the house for so long, they need a space, an external space to enjoy. So the external space that they want to enjoy is actually the space that we created for them, and it is our creativity that we need to develop and how these spaces can be enjoyed and can be used by the public as a whole. I would like to quote an example in the public housing. You can imagine people living in a public housing. The space is so limited, the house is very limited, and they need to stay in the house for so many days. But once the MCO is lifted, I think the first thing that they need is actually the external spaces. So these external spaces is actually the spaces that we have to provide for them. Even in the future, we still need to have a bigger external spaces. I would rather go for bigger external spaces rather than a bigger house, because the external spaces can be shared by the community. No doubt they have to have a social distancing, but the community and the gathering is still being allowed with a certain procedure that we need to follow. I think the procedure that for parks and gardens are also an area that people are looking forward. Even now, with the lockdown, people are still asking for parks and gardens to be open, even though parks and gardens are not listed as essential services. So I think there are a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of spaces that I think we can explore and give that to the community as a whole. Other than that, I think the thing that we need to look into is how we can, with this pandemic, actually, the whole industry need to change the way how we deliver things. The delivery system have to be changed or need to be changed, because with the technology, I mean, during the 1 month period, we are able to submit things, through virtually. So and the government or the authority is able to accept things virtually. So maybe this is good opportunity or a good start to ensure that this virtual submissions, the virtual process is a practice that we will continue in the future. Because I think other than that, the MCO actually is an opportunity. For me, it's an opportunity that we have to review how things be done in our country as a whole. The whole process, the delivery system, the practice need to be changed and adapt in the future, because when it is lifted, we have to follow this norm for maybe more than 2 years ahead. So the whole exercise will change obviously. So I think to me, from the national perspective, that is the thing that we have to work out and need to be adhered to all the community in the landscape architecture field. I think that is about all from me. Thank you to all.
Thank you so much, Haja. I think that was very, very exciting for us to learn. And yes, of course, the policy has got to be changed, but the norms has got to be there, and the new norm has got to be able to be prepared so that everybody is ready to move towards it. So, to our viewers, thank you so much for still listening to us, because I think we have been listening to all our four panelists today, and they've been talking about the new norm as a norm after this MCO is lifted. And then, of course, we want to hear more. And while you are listening to us, so please, I would like to remind, please make sure that you jot down comments under the comment boxes, and then we will revert back to you in our following series of our webinar. And then for the landscape architects, don't forget to selfie yourself with our screenshot and send it to ILAM database so that you would be able to obtain 1 CPD points for this program. So bear with us, yeah? Take a deep breath, okay? Because we're going for a second round to really think about the issue here is that think beyond the crisis, yeah? So what is tomorrow really, we're talking about what is tomorrow really like, and then the changing world, yeah? But I think even with this MCO, the blessings to landscape architects is that we have a cleaner air, right? And then we have less pollutions, yeah? So I think last time for the past 40 years, I have been actually being told by specialists, because I keep on asking why our river color is actually like teh tarik one. And they say, oh yeah, never mind lah, it's always like that because our soil is a clayish soil. That's why our river has to be in that color. Today, only after 48 years of living, I could see the Sungai Gombak is not that teh tarik anymore. So it's a blessing in disguise to landscape architects. That means whatever we pledged before this was actually right. So whoever contested us for the past 50 years, whatever it is, they were wrong. So I think this is again another paradigm shift for landscape architects. Keep going what you're doing and keep believing in you, because we know what we are doing. Yeah. So let's go for a second round with all the panelists. Yeah. Briefly, they will talk about somewhat Dr. Suhardi once again about landscape architecture profession. What is changed? What will be changed? And what will remain? So no matter what, please let all the landscape architects, especially in Malaysia, registered with ILAM, to know that this is not the end of our profession, but this is the new platform for us to do better. Over to you, Dr. Suhardi. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Natia. So after hear the other panel said discuss, it seems like there's a lot of changes going to be for us in the new future. I mean, after the MCO is lifted, for sure, the way we going to work is going to be different. As Dr. Yin said, we're going to be more, this architect Yin said that we have to be more adaptable to the social distancing in the office. We have to be more ready to accept the situation that maybe our workers is working at home rather than the office. So this is the changes that we need to face. Maybe it's a good thing to have our workers there, so we can contribute to our better environmental quality. Because less car, less motorcycle will be on the road. So the second one is also Dr. Kaila said that education is actually is transforming with the COVID-19. Actually, uh, the education sector have talking about move from face to face to more internet based or lecturers rather than be a teacher to more like facilitators. So I think COVID-19 is the thing that expedite the process. Really, we have to be really ready to face the changes in terms of the education. Even today, the seminar, the dialogue that we have today, usually is been done in one place. Everybody come together, but now we move toward the online, so it can be seen from many places from all over the world, perhaps. So it's a new way of doing things. It's not a new thing. Webinar have been around for some, but it's become more and more normal, or is accepted as a new thing or new way of delivering the new knowledge, new ideas, and so forth. And in terms of design, as I said earlier, we have to. I'm glad to hear that Puan Jarotina said that the emphasis on the open and green space should be there, and I think it should be there. We just have to be careful on how actually we have to think, not be careful. We have to think on how we're actually going to design in the future, rather than looking into the ordinary way of design. Now we have to think beyond the ordinary, meaning that the question about the health, the pandemic, the diseases, we never think about that before. We only talking about us, but we never think about how we going to control the pandemic or the endemic from by design. For example, we have the issue of dengue for so long in Malaysia. What have we done as a landscape architect to help to control this particular issue? So, uh, and then in terms of the psychological well-being of people, landscape is always be features that help people to calm down, to reduce stress and so forth. Now I think is going to be more and more important in the future. And for recreation, of course, for biodiversity and so forth. I think and the for policies, I hope that uh, we need more sound policy in the future regarding on how to design our green space and open spaces. It's not only we have to see it's not only a place for us to have green features, but also something that benefit to us as a whole. So it's very quite important to have a very sound policy regarding to this matter, because as I said earlier, we don't want at the expense of others, landscapers will be sacrificed. So that is quite important to be understood. So I think that is my message. So another one actually is for all the landscape architect, for any viewers out there, is that we have to adapt changes as soon as possible. We need to be brave. We need to be think how are we going to change. We cannot stay as or work as usual. We have to be we have to we have to be brave. We have maybe as many of us say that actually we have to look to this problem as an opportunity rather than the problem or issue. How are we going to take the challenge or the issue to become the opportunities? So that is very important. So I think that's all, Dr. Atia, uh, for my comment at this particular moment.
All right. Thank you
Over
so
to you.
much, Dr. Suhardi. I think I've been listening to Dr. Suhardi on how important is for everyone to be brave and to be resilient. Yeah. So thank you so much. And I would like to over to Dr. Kayla when she said that there'll be no studios whatsoever. So being the old person, I think I've been in teaching for the past 20 plus years. So not seeing my children, not seeing my student is again something that, oh my God, no, no. Like what Dr. Suhardi was saying just now, webinars, we don't see each other. Guys, the most important things during seminar so is the makan part, you know. So now we don't have makan anymore while doing the webinar. Oh my God, these are the new things that we're going to face after this. All right, whatever it is, it's a blessing. So Dr. Kayla, over to you. A few words about the education. What would be, what is important for everybody to be ready for the future? Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so to sum up a bit, I'd like to share three of my thoughts. First, responding to what you said is on the change. I think all of us, including myself, we need to embrace this change. And it's okay. Everybody have their own learning pace, but as long as we are moving forward and we know that we need to change, we need to relearn, or we need to learn something new, then we just have to do it. Take it a day at a time. And the second one is that, although methods of delivery for teaching and learning will change, we have to know that the fundamentals of knowledge will remain, constant. For example, the need to understand how the environment works, ecological processes, each have their own ways of working. So we still need to go back to the fundamentals and understand how the world, the earth, the nature operates. Because essentially, actually, nature doesn't need us. It can survive, it can thrive on its own. We are the one who needs nature. So how do we work with that? And then other than understanding that, going back to the basics and the fundamentals of, how things work, is I think the third one is knowing the fundamental needs of human. At the end of the day, it goes back to our basic need for food, issues of food security, our well-being and health, and then of course adapting to this other technological shift or infrastructural shift that comes in. So I see it as a balance between two aspects, which is keeping and understanding further on what is already there, what is already known, keep learning about it, nature, human needs, and all other aspects of the field. And then the second part is like the first thing I mentioned, which is adapting to change, our resilience, and then embracing this change and learning. Because for institutions, we want to ensure that when our graduates, leave the university to enter the industry, they are able to bring something new. And then 4 years to come, 5 years down the line, things might change also. We might be experiencing not a pandemic, but other forms of calamity or catastrophe. So how would we move beyond that? So I think in whatever phase we are, we shouldn't get too comfortable because we can easily be disrupted anytime. So just to be on our toes, take our time. We can't rush into things also because then we would make hasty decisions. Be calm in embracing change and try to see the opportunities that might arise from it.
So from Dr. Kayla just now, stay calm, keep going, and adapt the changes. So I think I would like to revert to the situation that happened in New Zealand after the earthquake where a disaster happened. So things are changing among the community, especially in landscape architecture, where fruit trees has become a norm rather than just an aesthetic trees planted in the city. So, or drying fruits is actually part of the everyday activities because of the food security and whatnot. So things has actually, world is actually changing. It is just that today what makes it different is that the whole world is changing at the same time. So these are the things that we are talking about today. And to Miss Yingi just now, Miss Yingi again, yeah, I can't imagine myself work from home for the rest of my life. I still have another 12 years to work because I am an extrovert person. I need to go and meet people. I need to laugh. How can I do that alone at home? So please help me on that, Miss Yingi. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm an intro person. um, uh, the I think it's like very different. So far my home I can face a lot of green.
Yeah.
That's why I think I still can bear with it. Actually, work from home is not only for current situation because I quite worry after the vaccine event. People tend to forget what happened now. They forget the lesson need to be learned. So a lot of things we'll just go back to what we had practiced previously. So just now we talk about the nature, all that, right? And yeah, in New Zealand, the fruit tree, people start to plant the fruit tree, but you when you plant the fruit tree, you also need to take care of the pollinator. So
Yeah.
all this kind of knowledge, actually landscape architect have it. That's why we need to even after this, when we look into the landscape design, all that, we still need to go back to the basic knowledge. We need to explain to the client, to the government, what is actually the proper way to have a usable, sustainable landscape. And we heard that the trend now is that people start to look for a house that not in the city area, because when you go more southward, the land you can have a landed house, and the trend is going to have people want the land, want the green. They can have their own garden. They can set up their uh, office in the house. So all this is a trend. So the economy also going to be very challenged now. So I think it's time to review what we doing now, what is the future trend, and what is the correct way. Yeah, as Dr. Kalila mentioned, nature don't need us. So how we integrate all this nature and our human needs is our landscape architect jobs. So I hope after this MCO, there will be a lot of webinar and some tips and some studies from the expert, so we can move forward. Okay, that's all.
Dr. Tia need to unmute.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. So, and then people will need more guidance. So landscape architects will have a lot more works to do after this, to tender the garden and to design for the garden, and how to make sure that our cities has a very beautiful, useful and functional green linkages, because people would like want to walk more than, rather than just taking the public transport or whatsoever. Our cities later on might has less of cars but more of the pedestrian and bicycles, because that will be safer rather than to congregate in a small buses or cars to commute from one spaces to another. Yeah, so I think that would be very important, and because of that I believe the policy has got to be changed, and there are lots of things that has got to be done to adapt to the new ways and the new norms. So why don't we listen to Haja, and what are the policies changes, or the things that we are going to face, and the government SOPs and whatnot that relates to our industry and the way we do things in the future. So over to you, Haja, once again. Thank you.
Hajah need mute.
Sorry. Okay, thank you, Dr. Atia. We and the viewers, I think we have a very bright future after this incident. I would say this is the time for the world to heal, or the nature to heal. So it gives us a period for everybody to be in the house, not outside the house, so that the external area can heal themselves. Like let's say, just now, Dr. Askar was saying that the rivers is coming back to be very clean.
Yeah.
The environment is cleaner. So I think from this pandemic, that is the positive aspect that uh, is good to everybody, the whole society. So I would like to also share with all the viewers that it is time for the world to heal, or the landscape actually give the opportunity for the nature to heal. So the healing period is the time for us to look back into our the normal practice, the normal practice that can give us the opportunity to adjust or to do some changes so that the norm in the future will be more greener or more adaptive to the needs of the nature. Other than what is happening now, we can say that the digital era is already here for the last few years, but it is not very extensively used. So with the period of 1 month, we will say that everybody is going into digital, using the digital platform. So it can be seen as the new way of doing things, and maybe it can be a start for having a smart cities. You know, we are talking about smart cities and everybody is talking about smart cities. So maybe the landscape architecture field should look into have these are the platform that we can further develop so that landscape architecture in relation to the smart cities actually start from here, and we have to develop more steps or things that we need to do to further ensure that the landscape architecture and the smart city is in tandem. About the spaces, like this just now, everybody was talking about the future of the green spaces and how we will see the green spaces, the need for the green spaces. I think positively, the green spaces are still in a very positive stand that everybody needs a green spaces, because the green space is actually the space that gives us oxygen. So whatever happen, we need oxygen to breathe. So we need to fight for the green spaces to be created in the cities, even to have more green spaces in the cities. The responsibility for having the clean environment is a responsibility of each of us as a citizen. And with this situation in the pandemic, COVID-19, we can see that everybody must be clean. Even the market need to be sanitized every day. The supermarket, the market, and all the common area and the public spaces need to be sanitized. So this is the situation where we need to educate our community to be more concerned about cleanliness, and cleanliness in many ways, so we can have a very positive society that are concerned about cleanliness. I think that in the government, we are also talking about having a cleanliness policy, so that everybody must be serious about having a clean environment. With that, I think there is the future that everybody, or each and every one of us need to look into. Maybe the responsibility of fighting this pandemic is actually a responsibility of all of us. So I will ask all of the viewers to ensure that we keep on having the social distancing in the future. Even though the MCO is lifted, we have to take care of ourselves, our family, and the whole society. I think with that, thank you everybody for having me, and would like to see you again in future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haja. I think whatever that comes from Haja just now was very releasing. We need more green spaces. We need cleaner environment. We need a better well-being for everybody. So for all our viewers, actually, especially the landscape architects, trust me, trust us, all the important panelists that we have today. Our future is brighter. Calm down, just adapt yourself and adapt to the changes. The future will be yours. Yeah. So I think thank you so much, Hajan. Thank you to all our panelists. So these topics that we have been discussing today will continue to be discussed in our following webinar series, which is on the second series. Yeah. So I will share with you our following ILAM webinar series that will happen actually next Tuesday, right? So okay, will happen next Tuesday. So the title will be Landscape Architecture Approaches for Outbreak Prevention. So we're going to be very detailed. Today is actually discussion among the panels on the issues and changes and norms and whatnot that coming for the future, adaptive resilience and whatnot. But our following webinar series is very technical on how do we tackle issues, and it will start with our ILAM webinar series 2, which is about landscape architecture approaches for outbreak prevention. And the moderator will be none other than the Associate Professor Landscape Architects, Dr. Muhammad Ramzi Hussein from International Islamic University of Malaysia, IIUM. So in this webinar series, we're going to talk about correlation between epidemic spread and loss of biodiversity and ecosystem, which has been actually touched by our panels just now. We're going to be very, very detailed, deliberated by our upcoming panels. And we'll be talking about ecological and environmental approach are the best solutions, guys. Landscape architecture is not only a profession of tomorrow, a profession of today, but we always flash that landscape architecture is the profession of tomorrow. Here we are, and we have lots of responsibilities to go about. And then the landscape planning as a whole that relates to ecology and biodiversity. And last but not least, you'll be talking about how does all this is going to be translated into landscape design on the ground. So bear with us, catch up with us on the 5th May 2020, which is next Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Again, live on Facebook. This time we try to do live, but with all the obstacles, bear with us. Don't forget, because this is the move towards a new technology. So don't worry with that. So we'll try to go live on Facebook again on Tuesday with this webinar series. And don't forget, another series will happen on the 12th May and also 19th May, basically every Tuesday of the week, with another topics, which is reforming landscape architecture practice for post-pandemic, will be on the 12th May, live on FB again, and also alternative ways of teaching and learning landscape architecture, details of what Dr. Kayla has been sharing with us. So this Ramadan, I think before Raya, we will catch up with so many things. After Raya, we will actually be ready to enjoy, to adapt to the new changes of the new norm. So ladies and gentlemen, viewers, thank you so much. Once again, I would like to apologize for the technical issues that happened today. And I would like to reintroduce our panels today. Social Professor, Landscape Architect Dr. Swadri Maulan, the President of ILAM. Thank you so much. Then we have Dr. Khalila Zakaria. Thank you so much, Council members of ILAM on education. And we have
Thank you.
Policymaker, the lady who's actually holding the SOP, holding the policy for us to survive. Thank you so much for being with us. And also Miss Hingyi, she has another meeting. I told you, living in this new technology is really, really fast. You cannot walk, you have to run. Okay, so before we end the session, I think our session today has basically sum up or deliberate on what should we be ready for the future, and we are talking about what will happen beyond the outbreak. So we are talking about integrated, holistic and sustainable plan. We're talking about empowering community, because after this, the authorities and community will actually work together. So before this, maybe we are experiencing the top-down approach, but after this is going to be a bottom-up kind of model of living or sustaining cities. and so many things that is going to be changes. But the best thing is that what landscape architects are talking about, which is about garden city, the concept of garden city, the concept of sustainable cities, and design for urban areas, space planning is again going to be very, very important. But like what Haja was saying just now, it's going to be different. But the best thing is that it's going to be much more important. So all our viewers, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Don't forget to write down all your comments so that we can deliberate, we can discuss that in our following webinar session. And thank you so much again for being with us. Don't forget to take selfie for your CPD points. Bear with us, continue to be with us every Tuesday before we go for Hari Raya for this year.